We're back with these wonderful jams. I want to go to the chat room for a second and um, read. Maya said it might be better if they reach out. And absolutely not. There's a regional effort where teachers are being trained by the CSF in science and math now. Stop replicating. Anybody wants to answer to that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know we have no problem with collaborating with other people. I think, we're just trying to add value where we think we could. So I don't think, we're not in competition with anyone at all. Wherever we can collaborate, where we know of efforts, that are being done, we're not trying to duplicate, we're trying to add value. So, we'll definitely, I'll follow up with Maya to see exactly, how we can work together.
Mm-hmm. Why did any of you, or each of you, want to go back? What was and what is pulling you back?
Well, I've always gone back with the New York chapter. Whenever Queens College has a reunion, I typically go back, right? And the chapter has always been like my connection to Guyana. Mm-hmm. For the past umpteen years, I've been volunteering in various capacities here in New York and in just about wherever I've lived. And so when I became engaged in the New York chapter, I saw that as a way to kind of reconnect, so to speak, with Guyana. Having been back and having worked with the kids, right, and worked with the school, and I see the potential. It's very magnetic, right? And I see where I can make a difference. And no, we're not duplicating. We would not be we would not go to Guyana to do something if it's already being done. We're not going to teach English because there's an English teacher in Queens College. And we're not, the Math Institute that Maya is referencing is not at Queens College, right? If we can get them to go, then sure, right? But if we can't get them to go, right, because of resources or, whatever other reasons, we cannot allow those kids to languish, right? When we have the resources and we have people who are quite able, willing, and ready to work.
What are you finding, Dr. Foster, in this particular initiative? What are you discovering in terms of reactions similar to some of the programs that you work on in your respective arena? What are you finding? What similarities are you noticing here that is giving you hope that this particular initiative, that you're on the right track with this particular initiative?
I think young people are young people regardless of where they are, and they have similar needs. So if we can strive, like the whole bullying, for example, the whole issue of bullying really raised its head in so many, various aspects of the conference. We had a couple, when the students had the opportunity to pick a topic for their project, 2 teams picked bullying. So, and that is an issue I know that is very prevalent in the U.S. So I think it's really taking the things that we've learned in our work, in my work especially in community economic development. There's so much that I can transfer to Guyana, and just starting with the youth, which is where I started when I first got engaged in community economic development. That is where I started, but really reaching even beyond just the youth and trying to do initiatives that may engage their families, whether it's through Queens College or not. I see great opportunity. The whole arena of entrepreneurship, Saran and I have been bouncing off ideas. There's so much with the high unemployment issue that the country faces. There's so much that can be achieved through promoting entrepreneurship. Whether it's among young people as well as their parents and other people. So I think this is just the beginning of a multi-generational effort on my part. And I'm only speaking for me here. It's just the beginning of a multi-generational effort that I see evolving really, within my desire to really give back to my country.
What are you hoping the Guyanese community, and especially the diaspora, get out of this? What is the message? One particular message you want? And I'm sure it might be different for each of you, but what is one particular message you hope the diaspora get out of this?
That I think that we all have something to offer, right? And either some of us can go back to Guyana, right? Or we're in a position where we're actually able to do that, to bring to bear in Guyana our services, right? And what I'd like people to hear is that wherever you are, right, you do have something of value, right, that you have to offer, right? And you should step up and provide what you're offering to your community, whether it's here or in Guyana.
You're in Guyana, right?
Mm-hmm.
The program has started. The students are in front of you. Describe one of those experiences for us.
Well, I led, I presented on study habits, right? And the kids were very engaged. They wanted to know how they can improve, right? So they asked questions, interesting questions, and I was able to share some of the mistakes that I made. And I think for many of our kids, right, they're not used to hearing from adults how terribly we screwed up, right? And we generally present, I guess, a front. Like
What inspired you to do that, to share in that way?
Because I guess fundamentally I'm an honest person, right? And and I feel that we don't need to all make the same mistakes, right? So to the extent that I've made a mistake, if I share that with you, hopefully you can avoid it if you can. So I opened up and I shared.
And you, Sarah?
Well, my workshop was on marketing and entrepreneurship. And when I was at QC, I did sciences. I did nothing to do with business because there was a stigma, and it was felt that if a student was, intellectually superior, that they should pursue sciences. So I had no exposure to business subjects, entrepreneurship, or anything. When I went to college, I actually went in a completely different direction, and I did business. I've done business all along. So I think, for me, I think it's important to actually be able to expose students to entrepreneurship and to business. And I think, I was able to accomplish that through my workshop too.
Let's go there for a little bit. Because there are lots of people who have been exposed to similar, kind of ideas. That if you don't pursue this sciences, you're not that smart. When did you realize that was nonsense for you, or you were misled?
I think when I was still at QC, and my stepfather is an economist, and through that I was exposed to other areas and other things, supply and demand, things like that, in addition to sciences. And I actually made the decision after fifth form to go to UG. So rather than staying with my cohorts and doing, graduating, I went to UG and I pursued management. So I think at that point, I thought, there was an alternative. And also, I worked with my neighbor who had an accounting firm, and that gave me exposure too. So I was lucky in that respect. I was able to, at fifth form, realize that, there was an alternative. But there may be students who are not as fortunate. And I feel again, that's how I can make a difference from my experience too.
And could I jump in there
Sure,
for a
of
minute?
course.
My workshop topic was the audacity to pursue your passion. Lessons from a recovering chemical engineer.
You know?
Michelle and I, we go back and forth with that. You know, we're both recovering.
I actually switched topics, along the way because I wanted to. I thought I was going to do all critical thinking, whatever it was. And you know what I said? Let me tell the students about my personal story.
Mm-hmm.
Because I too, like Saran, you think, oh, I always did good, did well in physics and chemistry and bio and math and all that. And I started off in chemical engineering, but then I discovered that that really wasn't my passion. And it took me actually starting a career and actually switching careers to really pursue my passion. So I took the opportunity to tell the students, it's okay if you don't know what you want to be right now. It's okay if down the road you decide to change. It's all okay. Just make sure that you're really pursuing your passion, and your life will be so much more fulfilling, and on and on. So I think I've lived that as well, and my whole workshop is really about starting not really engaged in a vocation where you were really passionate, and really pursuing that. So it was a great experience, and I really appreciated that.
I was just about to ask you, how did they react to that?
I mean, they were so engaged. They had the best questions.
But you know what? That you mentioned that. That you mentioned questions.
Yeah.
What was one of the most memorable questions you had in your workshop?
One of them asked about, how did your parents react?
No, Selwyn, that's an entirely, that's its own program. How do West Indian parents react when you say you want to give up medicine?
Exactly.
I was crazy. I didn't know I was crazy. But as I went along, it really became obvious to them that I was still, doing what God called me to do.
Uh-huh.
And they kind of let off, they got over it. They'll get over it.
Are you, Sarah?
I mean, and for me, it was even worse because, I left corporate America to go, some people say to walk dogs. I mean, it's not as simple as that, I mean, my business is more than just walking dogs, but, for West Indians, dogs, so
Yeah.
what is there to dogs,
Is
how can you make a living, dogs?
I have to be sent you to QC and all that.
She's walking the dog.
Yeah,
Sharon, I want you to finish your point, but I want to make a point here because I think it's very important. I've interviewed all kinds of people in my other programs, and one of the things that recurring themes is how we knock other people's passion. And as a result, our society, our community lose because of it. A person may have an idea, and the idea doesn't sound good to others, and they knock it down. And that person doesn't have the audacity, as Michelle mentioned just now, the audacity to change, but the audacity to pursue your idea, and with you, Saran, the audacity to pursue what, as they would say, walking dogs. But then, if you don't, you never know, because I believe each idea creates a chain reaction of things. Mm-hmm. And you don't know who is waiting or what is waiting for you to complete that. So maybe one day we could come back and talk about, the importance of pursuing your dreams and pursuing your ideas. But anyway. And,
it's interesting because in my workshop, actually, we came up with, they came up with a product of their own. Mm. And what it was a beverage. And, I gave them some primary research initially, and some secondary research. I mean, looked at the beverage industry in the U.S. And looked at if it was applicable to the Guyanese market. And one of the things was that healthy beverages is what's important right now in the U.S. market. And they felt, it didn't apply to the Guyanese market. And that they should do something that was more sugary, that was more fruity, that was sweet. But then they said also, well, why don't we can still go do a healthy beverage. Mm-hmm. And I said to them, I think what's important when you are pursuing a business is that you have to be really bought into the idea. you have to have passion for what you're doing because that makes a difference. If you're going to be doing marketing a product you don't believe in, you're not going to do as well with it as if you're passionate about what it is that you want to do.
Yeah, and I think that part of the reason why we're able to essentially hold down our full-time jobs and still do this is because we're passionate about what it is we are doing. We feel very strongly, so we're willing to make the necessary sacrifices to get the job done.
I have to ask this question. What are some changes or improvements each of you would like to see on this particular program? Not this particular program here at CWS, the initiative that you guys took on today.
We can start with having more students from outside of Queen's College. That doesn't mean fewer Queen's College students, but I think the program develops a different life of its own, a different dimension, a different feel. Yes.
And can you accommodate that? Accommodate more?
Everything is possible.
Okay. Ms. Saran, and what would you like to see?
I would like to see the second day expanded again, because it's entrepreneurial. And there was such positive feedback for it. We had 19s, but there were still 19s, yes. Wow. But there were still other students who wanted to be a part of it and who could not be a part of it. So I actually would like to see that particular day expanded.
And you, Michelle?
I think some of the feedback we obtained from through our evaluations, something that kept coming up is that not enough time. So it's like the students wanted longer. Our sessions were 1 hour in length. So just being able to accommodate longer sessions and an even wider variety of topics.
Wow.
Yes.